Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a review for a movie from 2001 that I have heard about forever. For like 15 years of my life that I've been on the internet, I have heard about people talking about this movie that I've never really taken the time to watch it. It's one reason why I like the whole streaming movies thing, only for renting. Because I saw this and I finally went ahead and rented it for like $3 or something like that on Prime. And it's a film that, again, everybody loves, everybody's told me about forever. It happens to be written and directed by Brad Anderson, who also went on to do, a few years later, one of my favorite horror films of all time, starring Christian Bale, The Machinist. If you haven't seen The Machinist, that is nightmare fuel. But so is this movie a little bit too. This film is called Session 9. Session 9 is a psychological thriller in the vein of something like a Jacob's Ladder almost, or like a Silent Hill, but a little bit more grounded, about a group of guys who have to do a cleaning job, and they were about to go out of business. One of them happens to be David Caruso, who plays the really cool redhead from CSI Miami that always takes the sunglasses off when he makes these stupid-ass puns that I love. He's a very talented actor. It was good to see him in here, but he's surrounded by a cast the people I don't know, who all were really good in this show, or this movie, excuse me. Session 9 basically has this crew going into an abandoned building. They had to bid for this job and they managed to catch it. And they have to clean this entire abandoned asylum that has a lot of dark history behind it, like most asylums did from back in the day. They have to clean it in a week. Which, why would you sign up to do all this in a week? Have you seen this building? It is huge. It's huge, dude. But while they're there, weird things start to happen. One of them happens to even come across this very weird set of tapes that happen to be different sessions with a lady named Mary, who was a schizophrenic, had split personalities, so on and so on. And there's some creepy shit in there. There's this personality that this lady has, apparently, called Simon, that we don't really have a recording of, but, you know, as the recordings go on, eventually we build up to that. But the different personalities she had, the different voices that that voice actress had to make for that role were so unnerving and so eerie. But this movie overall, the abandoned asylum thing, this is, again, 2001 when this movie came out. I didn't realize how old this movie was. It has a massive reputation of being so beloved and so terrifying. And I went into this movie not realizing the atmosphere within it was going to be so thick. It is so eerie. It really is. And this is before, mind you, that we had YouTubers all over YouTube and all over the internet in general, Reddit, anywhere, that had done this urban exploration thing where they go out in the wilderness, find an abandoned building like it's the damn Blair Witch House or something, and they just go in and walk around, mold be damned, and they don't care. This was before all of that. This was a movie that was made before anything like that. Same thing with Blair Witch, but this, I think, was better. About finding an abandoned asylum, walking around, seeing the empty halls, having the terror of going around a corner and something coming out, or a random homeless guy wandering out. This movie's filled with that, but it's not shot in found footage, obviously, in case you accidentally wondered that's what I was saying Blair Witch so much for. This is a regular old film. It's beautifully shot, and like I said, it's written and directed by Brad Anderson, who's an incredible talent that I think is wasted all too often, who is not doing enough horror, in my personal opinion. The dude is incredibly talented when it comes to his filmmaking. This is a great example of that. Personally, I think The Machinist is a way better film and a way scarier movie because I work in a factory, and I've seen a lot of shit, and I've had a lot of people tell me a lot of shit, like my grandfather, about the factory jobs that he's done versus what I've done, and factories creep me out, to be honest with you. The Machinist played on a lot of my fears within factories. This movie plays on a lot of fears of people like who happen to be obsessed with urban exploration, or people who like the real-life ghost stories on the internet type of thing. This is way into your kind of alley of expertise, if you will. And again, the atmosphere in this movie never lets up, from beginning to end, even with the small humorous moments amongst these characters, which some of them are even related, like this one younger guy on the team who's like the nephew or something of one of the guys. The kind of stuff that we're dealing with their personal lives, them as characters, I didn't go into this expecting this very strong written characters. They were very well done. If you want any kind of idea as a writer out there of how to write characters in a very small, kind of almost one-setting location of a movie or a story or a novel or whatever, this is the movie to kind of study, to be honest with you. This and something like Saw, maybe movies like Circle, if you happen to see Circle, which is a lot of characters, but for what they have to do as quickly as they have to do it, they did it great. This was so surprising to me. But I did not love it like most people. Session 9 is one of those films that I would call a hidden horror but I don't think I'm going to because it has a reputation. People seem to really love this movie, but I'm just not one of them. It's not one of those ones I'd recommend to everybody, you know what I mean? But if you love really eerie atmospheres that never let up, this is the movie for you. And let me be honest with you, this is going to be a stronger watch from the get-go on your second viewing. And I think it's good enough that I think you'll want to see it a second time. I do think the final line of the movie will stick with me the rest of my life. I thought it was incredibly creepy and eerie. This kind of haunted abandoned asylum thing was pretty overdone even by 2001 standards because you had so many movies coming out by that time that had done this over and over and over again. And this movie, because of Mr. Brad Anderson, had the ability to do something different that really stood out, even back then, all the way to now. What was it, 23 years later? Yeah, that's crazy. This movie's 23 years old. All these years later, and this film still stands out to people like me who have seen everything. I've seen the haunted abandoned asylum over and over again in movies, and in video games, and Silent Hill games, and so on and so on. I've seen it so many times that, like, this should be nothing new for me, and it absolutely was. So I was very impressed with that. And again, if you like things like Jacob's Ladder and Silent Hill, it's going to be right up your alley. Why the hell has Brad Anderson not made a Silent Hill movie yet? Why? He would be great for that. He knows how to do that. He would be incredible for that. I just think it's the biggest mistake the studios have ever made. This man could make you a massive franchise with a shit ton of money. I promise you, and you don't want to hear me out on it. Anyway, beautifully shot film, too, for what they had to do. And I even like the characters. The performances are great from every single person in the movie. And I think you'll really dig it for the most part. But anyway, if I had to rate Session 9, the very beloved horror film all over the internet, on a 5-star basis, I think I would easily give this a 4 out of 5 stars. It's a good flick. It's definitely recommendable, and I think most people would really enjoy this that are into the psychological horror stuff. If you're more of a fan of, like, I don't know, like the Conjuring films, or if you're a younger person who's into, like, the Paranormal Activity movies, excuse me, I don't think this is going to be for you. But I think the quality of the filmmaking for the kind of lower budget they had for this, that you can really tell it's kind of a lower budget movie, it's astounding how incredible this was and what Anderson was able to do with it. So with that being said, check it out if you haven't seen Session 9. If I'm the last person on the planet to be part of the party telling you to go see it, you should go see it. I think it'll be worth your time. You can rent it fairly cheap. Never saw this in stores. When I was back in the day in rental video stores at like Hollywood Video and Blockbuster, I never saw this movie on the shelves, not one time, and I lived in those places religiously, especially in the horror section, the thriller sections. Never saw this anywhere. I don't care what anybody says. It was not as well known back then as people claim it was. So, anyway, check it out. Let me know what you think about it. Session 9. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you, and goodbye.